Today, I've got Kayla Smith here to give us an update on the Niagara region. We've got grants, we've got deals, and we've got a market update for you. So, Kayla, what is going on in the Niagara region?
This might be the spiciest of them all. So you can get an interior ADU grant of $40,000 or a $80,000 grant for exterior ADUs. One thing that I'm super excited about is cheap flips. I've seen a decent amount of opportunity lately in really good neighborhoods of like houses that are in the 3 to 4 range, where when they're fully renovated, they sell in the 5 to 7 range. Just these long-standing businesses. There's so many in the area. We're going to see all of these people retire. There's so many different ways, creative ways to get financing from these people.
This is hunting season, right? When we've got a bunch of new inventory coming to market, when we've got things sitting on the market, when we've got businesses coming up, this is your opportunity to really, reflect inward on what are your goals, right? What are you actually trying to accomplish? Welcome back to the Canadian Real Estate Channel. I'm Adam JD Martin, your host, and today I've got Kayla Smith here to give us an update on the Niagara region. We've got grants, we've got deals, and we've got a market update for you. So, Kayla, what is going on in the Niagara region?
We have so much inventory. It's a really good time
Yeah.
to be there. Almost 6 months of inventory. It's a lot. That's not to say that things aren't selling, because they are. If you're priced appropriately, we're still seeing, it's about a month in most cases. But if you're a buyer, I don't know, you've probably done a few of these already this month, but I would say our months of inventory is probably higher than most areas that that I pay attention to. So lots of opportunity for buyers, I guess, will be the theme across the board.
Yeah, those stats were crazy. If you guys missed the quick super cut where we talk about stats all across Ontario, Niagara region has like way more inventory than anywhere else, like 2 to 3 times more inventory with over 1,000 new listings, which it depends where you're sitting, but that screams opportunity to me, right? I mean, if you're looking to buy, this is a really interesting value proposition to have 1,000 new houses on the market to look at. And I think really the challenge is going to be narrowing down on what fits your goals best. And of course, that's why we have Kayla here. So let's jump into it, Kayla.
Just while we're chatting about, we'll go through the news, we'll go through the deals, and we'll go through what I think are the big 2025 opportunities. Cat cameo.
Cat cameo. Let's go.
All right. So that was fun. So this is just kind of like a heads up. So a lot of Airbnb hosts, as well as business owners in the Niagara region, are always interested in when there's going to be an influx of people. This goes to 2 different areas. One is that we have become a hub. We, the Niagara region, have become a hub for sporting events. We had the Canada Summer Games. We just recently had the World Rowing Championships, and now we are going to have the Parasport Games take place in the region. So I've marked the dates here for people. So you know that you're going to see an influx of people. There's about 500 athletes. So that also means families and teams and coaches and all that. This is just more of a heads up that there will be an influx of people here. Also a heads up for people driving here, because there's lots of traffic. So more of a heads up for the short-term rental owners as well as the business owners, so they know. And a very cool event too. So if you're looking for something to do that weekend, you'll be able to buy tickets to these events. Super neat. And the facilities are all new just because they built them for the Canada Games.
That's awesome. Great tactical little piece of advice there for short-term rental house.
And then this is more of just a, hey guys, things are happening here. The province and the feds seem to really like giving grant money to Niagara. Whether it's innovation, tourism gets it a lot, obviously. But I just wanted to point out, things are happening. The region, the province, and the feds are aware of it. And they're trying to ramp up the tourism stuff in this area and innovation. So we're getting a lot of new businesses. Fun little fact, we just got 2 businesses to move here from Finland and I believe Japan or China. So neat things happening in the Niagara region. This is just like a, hey guys, stuff does happen here.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's great to see the government getting behind the area because the region's obviously been growing a fair bit over the last few years.
Quite
So it's great to
substantially.
see that continued support, right?
And then this might be the spiciest of them all. St. Catharines previously had a grant program for ADUs, or accessory dwelling units. It was $20,000, was super limited on who could get it. There was only a certain number of them. They just beefed this up in a big way. So this has only been around since August 26th when it was approved. So you can get an interior ADU grant of $40,000 or a $80,000 grant for exterior ADUs. Of course, this is subject to, approval, and you have to do a whole bunch of things to get it and with permits and whatnot. However, this is a really good opportunity for the people that want to do the conversions, the people that want to house hack and do conversions. Burrs, like it's like a perfect storm, especially with the prices where they're at right now and with the number of houses that are listed. This is a huge, huge, huge opportunity.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see developments like this popping up all over Ontario, but this is one of the best grant programs that we've seen. We shot a huge series and it's going to be being released on the channel over 2025 about additional dwelling units. We're doing a 12-part series on this and really walking you through how to make them work as an investor. And let me tell you, some of the ones that we saw were very average lots, very
Mhm.
average buildings. And, we talked with 555 Construction and they were able to make really, really, really beautiful designs, really beautiful units, new inventory, more density, great market rents. And they were able to get a lot of these units done for anywhere from $100,000 to $200,000, either retrofitting units in the back, like whether that's a large garage out back, or adding units to the existing structure. We saw that as well. And then as far as new build, but 80 grand goes so far when we're talking about $100,000 to $200,000 project. That's almost half of your project paid by the government and money that you don't need to give back. And of course, there's strings, right? You have to do the application, you have to do the right paperwork, the permitting process, the engineering, the architectural designs. It's all part of it. But that 80 grand is just amazing. Think about how long and how much you got to work for 80 grand after tax of your own money, right? It's really difficult to pocket 80 grand with the type of taxes we pay here in Canada. So this is a massive value add from the city. So cool to see this.
Yeah, and I'm not a huge advocate for exterior ADUs only because for me personally, I'm like I'm going to take that 200 grand and go buy something else. But if I can get 80 grand, whew, I'm in. All the way
Yeah.
in, 100%.
Yeah.
I just and 40 grand in an interior ADU, like they're not near as costly to do. So I feel like there is a massive opportunity here. And St. Catharines rents are great. There's a lot of demand for them. So there's, yeah, definitely a lot of opportunity here. We'll link the program guidelines below that's there, but we'll make sure that you guys have access to them. So that one is a pretty spicy bit of news, especially with all the financing options that the government's supposed to be coming out with. This is going to be like a perfect storm, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm so excited. So excited to see where this goes.
So I picked some out just as an example. Decent neighborhoods, this perfect, dated. This is like the perfect clean dated bungalow. It's only been up for 13 days. So there's probably, and everyone is usually pricing in at least some negotiating room right now, unless they're holding offers. So you can expect that there is some feasibility there. You've got a garage in the back. Is it possible that you could do two? Maybe. 529. Again, I think there's some room there. The comps are there for a burr. The conversion works. House hacking could work. It's a good area. Lots of great delis in this area. I know it's in cafes. It's a really odd mix of things, but it is, I think this could be a good one. And you have 1,000 square feet. So that should be more than enough to work with. This is a cheap duplex, legal, 1,400 square feet. This is easy, in my opinion. It's in a B minus area. They look to be cosmetic rentals. I haven't been through it, so take that with a grain of salt, but it's vacant. It's 429. It's, I feel like you can negotiate down here. It's been up for a bit. They both, like, there's in-suite laundry on the main floor. It's on a deep lot. It's close to everything. This to me is just easy. If you want to dip your feet in, if you're like a new investor and you want something that's inexpensive that you have to do some work to pull some of your money out and decent rents, this could be it.
That's awesome, Kayla. What do you think like rough market rent on something like this would be?
Yeah, so once they're renovated, like we've rented out in this area 2 beds for anywhere from 16 to 1900, just depending on like the layout and the size. Now we're getting into, so these are some of our listings, and this one just got a little more interesting. So this is a legal duplex with a legal ADU, so it's 3 units, all permanent, it's fully renovated, A plus tenants in the 1 unit that there are still tenants in. So there's going to be 2 vacant units at the end of this month, which is a huge deal, because then you can, one, find your own tenants, set your own, like, set market rent. And the tenants at this one, they actually pay all the utilities. So it's all separately metered for hydro. And then they were split based off square footage for the rest of the utilities. So it's just a real set it and forget it situation. And as the rates start to come down, which we should see a pretty decent one next week, crossing fingers, these will become more and more attractive because they are the real, like, set it and forget it. You buy it, you forget about it. It's all done with permits. It's all legal. It's all new, and it's in a great neighborhood in Welland.
Yeah, I mean that's great perspective to bring to the channel as well too. And we just finished shooting the Kitchener Waterloo update where we talked a lot about the coming changes to mortgage rates as well as amortizations, some of the market conditions and macroeconomic factors like the CPI. Like everything looks like the market is probably going to appreciate in the spring or very latest next fall, right? So getting into these turnkey opportunities, if they do make sense today, it's really likely that they're going to make a lot of sense in the near future, just based on appreciation, because the purchasing power of the average person is about to go up quite a bit.
Yes.
Right, so that can make a lot of sense in these turnkey opportunities.
Yeah, sometimes it's good to be boring. Not always, but sometimes. And this one's just a bit boring. This one's a little less boring. It's still 3 units, legal, all permitted, fully renovated. Again, you have your A plus tenants in there. Your income's there. The tenants pay hydro. The reason why this one is a little more interesting is you see that massive 2-car garage back there. This has the possibility to convert the garage. The garage is quite large, and you have a new roof. Waterproofing was done, and again, it was all renovated when they did the conversion. And there is also the casting factory not far from here, which is, they've already brought in jobs, but it's supposed to create 200 by early 2025. So we're just about there. And those are decent paying jobs as well. So there will be people looking for housing. When you make a good wage, you're usually a good tenant, and we screen extremely heavily. But this is one where if you want to have some of the sureness that, you have this asset that's going to pay you every month, great. And if you want to dip your feet into the conversion, well, you have the opportunity in the back.
Yeah, that's a huge garage, right? Like the ones that we saw. So we saw everything from a 300 square foot garage to a 600 square foot detached, like new build situation. That looks like a really big garage. Like it looks like 50% bigger than the one that we saw turn into a really beautiful unit. And again, it's Hamilton, so maybe the rents are slightly different, but that renovation was about 100,000. And the unit itself was able to net 1,700 a month. So like you start really looking at these numbers and it's fantastic, especially with that grant money.
Yeah, I don't think that it would be too far off the rent, depending on, again, I don't know the exact square footage of the garage, but depending on how large it is, I think you'd be pretty close. Because it's kind of like you get your own little house without getting a whole house, So there is a bit more of a desire for that than living in like a structure that has multiple units in it. All right. I'm going to just talk about one more thing while we're on this before we move on, because you did all of the ADU stuff in Hamilton and there is a lot of opportunity there too. Just want to let everyone know that we will be listing a bungalow in a great area on the mountain, 1,000 square foot bungalow, big 2-car garage in the back, side entrance to the basement, all the good stuff for $599 next week. So if that, piques anyone's interest, to reach out as well. It's a solid house. And it's just stated kind of what everyone's looking for. So definitely reach out about that too.
Beautiful. And that sounds like potentially 3 units. Is that right? So you get the side entrance to the basement, you've got potential ADU for the back, and then you've obviously got the main floor.
Yeah. Awesome. I'm thinking you could do like a, 3-bed up, 2-bed down, and then bachelor 1-bed in the garage. So definitely some potential there. This is what I'm seeing as like opportunities in 2025. And I thought it was a good time to chat about it. I know we're only in October, but like if you're business planning or anything, this is really when you should start looking at your plans for next year. Like us as a business, we'll do our business planning shortly for 2025. So one thing that I'm super excited about is cheap flips. And I put cheap in asterisk just because, like, $300,000, $400,000. It's not cheap, but for a house, it is. I've seen a decent amount of opportunity lately in really good neighborhoods of like houses that are what look to be cosmetically need a lot of work, but structurally very solid in the 3 to 4 range, where when they're fully renovated, they sell in the 5 to 7 range.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think like again, flips can be risky, especially in a bit of a volatile market where we're not entirely sure what's going to happen. I mean, flips are risky no matter when you do them, but if you can make sure that your margins are big enough, even if the market doesn't do exactly what we're planning for it to do, you should still be able to make a decent amount. Like I've bookmarked myself to do 5 next year, which is pretty bullish, I guess is the right word for it. But these are ones where you get it, you're in and you're out, and then you sell it,
Yeah.
and you're in, you're out, you sell it. So that's one opportunity that I'm seeing again. I'm wondering, like, I know you've done a lot of these already this month. Has anyone else pointed out those opportunities? Because I feel like I've seen a few in Niagara, but I haven't looked too hard everywhere else.
Yeah. You know what? To be completely honest, I think Niagara is better positioned for that flip situation because of the inventory situation, right?
Yeah.
Like it seems to me like there's a lot of room to make great offers and find those prices that actually make sense to have that spread built in. Where some
Yeah.
of the other markets are at that point where they do have some inventory, but they're not getting these new listings. So a lot of it is like stale, older inventory
Mhm.
that is probably just because of unrealistic expectations from the sellers. So I think actually Niagara is like one of these interesting positions where you're probably perfectly positioned for that. And that type of spread is amazing. And I mean, when we're thinking about, the strategic renovations we always talk about here on the channel, kitchens, bathroom, landscaping, lighting, paint, these are the things that really can make a property worth a lot more when it comes to putting in 50, 60 grand and getting out a lot more than that when you go to actually sell it. And so
Yeah.
I think that's great. Like that spread sounds awesome. If you can find things
Yeah.
in the 3 and 4s and we're reaching up 5, 7 when we're done with the flip, if you have your systems and your processes locked in, you've got a great power team, get a flip done in 3 to 6 months and you're out of there. That could be fantastic timing for a nice spring market or fall market timing.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. Like if you're looking now and let's say you're closed, there's one specifically that's like they want to close late January. And I'm like, that's perfect. You work on it January to maybe the end of March.
Yeah.
And then you list right in time for people to flood back into the market.
Beautiful.
So I do feel
Beautiful.
like there's a ton of opportunity for that. And like I said, that's what I'm looking for right now. One of the other things is the short-term rental, midterm rental space. So we run a small property management company for its clients only at the moment, but we manage short-term rentals, midterm rentals, long-term rentals. And I don't know if everyone remembers, I talked about it for like 6 months in a row, but there is the Niagara University, the University of Niagara Falls. So this is downtown Niagara Falls, right on the main strip. Well, not Clifton Hill main strip, like the actual downtown of Niagara Falls. And it is up, it's operational, and we have midterm rental requests like crazy from the students that go there. A lot of them are out of country. So they're looking for something that's furnished. They're looking for something that's close to the university, which just happens to be this area that is a little bit less expensive. It's a lot where a lot of the older houses are. It's also where there's a lot of multis. So, I mean, one right off the top of my head, there's a 4 unit that's vacant for $749 right now.
Wow.
And it does need some work. Don't get me wrong. Like there's some work to be had there, but there's probably also some negotiating room. Midterm rentals doesn't have, like, it doesn't fall under the same zoning rules in Niagara Falls as short-term rentals do. So
Yeah.
you are allowed to do it. So I think there's a big opportunity there. We're seeing anywhere from, $2,800 to $4,000 a month, depending on the size of these units. And then short-term rental, we saw a lot of people exit that space because municipalities and cities and a lot of bylaw and rules came out. So a lot of people left because it was difficult to deal with. But also when interest rates got extremely high, and you don't know how much you're going to make every month, some people just prefer to get a long-term tenant in there because they know, even if it's less.
Yep.
In Niagara Falls, specifically short-term rentals, if there's very specific zoning, but we did have clients that just got a 3 unit in legal zoning for $650. So that does still exist. But if you're one of those people that's a little unsure and you want to be in an area that has, just go somewhere that already has a legislation, like Niagara on the Lake. There's a license system that's very clear. It's not always the
Yeah.
easiest to get, but as long as you follow the rules and you're in the right areas, you can. I still love these two. We've sold a lot of our long-term stuff to move into this. We just finished up one. And the nice thing about these two things is that you can still do a BRRRR, you can still do a conversion, like you can still do all of these things, and then you just turn it into a short-term rental or mid-term rental. But that specific area around that university in the falls, I love mid-term rental there specifically.
Yeah, that's a great point. And you know what? I actually really love your take on run towards the red tape on that
Mhm.
strategy. I actually think that's a great point to make because it really is that uncertainty in markets that don't already have it, that maybe it's come up in a, city meeting, or, you hear the NIMBY complaints and things like that. I really think that's a really great take that I haven't heard in a while, which is just run towards that red tape. Like you already know what to expect with Niagara on the Lake. So
Yeah.
you can build that into your business planning. You can build that into your goal setting. You can build that into your expectation for operations management and who you need as a power team member. So I think that's like a really awesome take on what could have been seen as a problem, right? And so that's the problems or profits mindset right there. And really glad to hear that from you there, Kayla. So one question though about the midterm rentals and their management. How do you see that in terms of, like, obviously they turn over a lot less than a short-term rental, and then they turn over more obviously than a long-term rental. But like, do you see any tips or tricks or just obvious things to look out for when it comes to the management of those?
Yeah. So, I mean, I still think people who are looking for midterm rentals, they still want to be in a nice place. They still want it to be trendy with nice furniture and, make sure it has all the amenities, especially because it's going to be their home. The other thing I would, and this is anecdotal from our experience, and we've placed a bunch recently, is a lot of the people that go to that university specifically, but they're coming with pets. They're,
Right.
leaving their country, they're bringing, because this is their home now for XYZ amount of time. So if you're not allowing pets, I would say just consider why not. You can still get them to book through Airbnb. So if there is a bunch of damage, you can go back on through the Airbnb system. But that is another thing. Like we've changed all of ours to allow pets. We do charge a pet fee. And then in terms of managing them, it is like you still do get more questions than I get from our long-term tenants, 100%. But eventually it just becomes their home.
Right.
So they merge slowly from like a short term to a long term tenant as opposed to this midterm. I think it's just a transitional period. And a lot of them are again new to the country. So we do see a lot more questions about, like, the other day I was mapping out a bus route for someone. I haven't been on the bus in, I don't know, 15 years, but it's just like if you can go that extra mile too, they're more apt to stay.
Yeah, and you know what? That's a great point too. That as you encounter these questions and as they come up, if you find you're catering to a certain avatar of person,
Mhm.
you can obviously create a guest book or create
Yep.
an experience book or something like that that would fit the needs of that type of person, so that the next time you have that turnover, you have less communication, less friction, and less manual work to do. So
Mhm.
I think that's a great point too, right? They transition slowly as they integrate in. Probably your issues and your communication slows right down, and that's not unlike new tenant turnover, right? And
Yep.
I talk about this a fair bit. Like when you get a new tenant placed, you actually should budget like at least a couple $1,000s and at least a couple visits back to that unit to just tighten things up. And I think that's not something that often gets talked about in the YouTube side of the conversation, because, like, you want big numbers, you want fancy videos and stuff like that, but
Mhm.
this is the reality, right?
Yep.
It takes communication and it takes maybe sometimes some extra funds, but when you place a new tenant, you got to expect that too out of a long-term
Oh
situation. So
yeah,
that's
I
that's
don't
great.
think we've placed one long-term tenant where we haven't had to like go back and fix a faucet or run the dish, like something small.
Do something.
Yeah, like, we test it when we reno the unit, but then it's, maybe a month later. So definitely that. The other thing that I would like to say to long-term landlords is if midterm's kind of on your radar, but you're not entirely sure, when you list your unit, just list that it can come furnished as well for an additional cost, because those
Nice.
people will reach out to you as well. And furnishing a unit, it's not the most, I know some people really do spend a ton. We've gotten very, very good at, like, it looks great, but it wasn't a bazillion dollars. So that's just a trick there. We just did it and we got, great tenants at a great price. And they were, again, going to the university. So I think there's a lot of opportunity, especially in that little bubble, but kind of all over the place. You have, people coming from out of country to work here, to live here, Brock, Niagara College, all sorts of different reasons. And then the other thing that I wanted to talk about, and I've seen this spoken about a few different times. Commercial opportunities, and I do mean larger multifamily, the financing, again, a little bit easier, but also just these long-standing businesses. There's so many in the area. We're going to see all of these people retire. There's so many different ways, creative ways to get financing from these people. They just, in many cases, care about their business, but can't carry it on. They do want to retire. So
Yep.
can you do like vendor takebacks? Yes, probably. Can you do that? You're going to do an equity split for a certain amount of time. There's so many different ways to do it, but like you're dry cleaners. I'm obsessed with laundromats. So that's my thing.
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with laundromats. But there's a bunch of different ones that car washes, storage units have become popular for quite some time now. But I think that there's a lot of opportunity there, especially for the people that maybe don't have the financial situation to get into real estate necessarily right away. You can talk to these business owners. Maybe you take it over. Maybe you're a paid employee for a little bit with first right of refusal on maybe their business and their building if they own it. So this is more of a long-term, I think, a little bit long-term scope in terms of it's not a quick, cheap flip, but there is a lot of opportunity to just have something that becomes set it and forget it, that just makes you cash flow every year. And maybe you have 1 to 2 employees, or maybe you have none. There's these laundromats that just operate on their own. We're in like this very, very crucial time for these businesses as the boomers really start to see their way out in terms of retirement, or want to, but can't find anyone to take over the business. Trades is another one. Huge, huge, huge trade market. So this is another thing I will be keeping a very close eye on.
And that's a great point. Like in the whole theme as we're going into 2025, and I've shot a lot of new content for you guys, it's all about finding value, right? We can't sit around and wait for this value to find you. You have to go out and hunt, right? There's hunting and there's farming. This is hunting season, right? When we've got a bunch of new inventory coming to market, when we've got things sitting on the market, when we've got businesses coming up, this is your opportunity to really, reflect inward on what are your goals, right? What are you actually trying to accomplish, right? What would some macro goals look like, and what would some micro goals and some daily habits be that you could form in order to actually hit those macro goals over the long term? And I find if you actually take a minute to zoom out like that, you may start looking at some of these different asset classes very differently. Because Kayla just mentioned there, like with businesses, you've got options to purchase, right? You've got the vendor take back in a big way. You've got the concept that they might just stay on with you for the first year and teach you how to run the business that they've been profiting off of for 10, 20 years. You've got financing available, right? You've got business financing. You've got income coming in from the business itself, right? And then you've got the buildings to talk about. If you can have both, why the heck not? And so there's really fascinating financing options available, whether that's through banks, through business incentives and grants and programs through the province and federally. And then, of course, you've just got your creativity. That's the only thing holding you back on businesses. So that's great, Kayla. And I would love to continue talking about this. Like if we have businesses come up in Niagara, I think everyone at home wants to hear more about it. And I'm open to talking about it too, because Matt and I have tried to purchase businesses off market in the past, and we've actively marketed towards this because it's a great idea. If you can run a real estate business and you're used to, you're used to wearing the marketing hat, the sales hat, the operations management hat, the accounting hat, and everything else, then it's worth looking at some of these active businesses and combining both of those things to have both active income as well as potentially the building working for you as well. So great point.
Yeah. So loving that. And then I just kept this up. This is from last time. And I just want to make it very clear that these are all of this is multifamily specifically. If I added commercial, if I added businesses, if I added anything else in here, it would have been, it's already a bit crazy. The ones that we have hearts on are the ones that I really like. These aren't listed, but these are the buildings that we have access to. So in terms of, we can reach out to the owners and see. So if you are looking for something, whether it's a business or a commercial building, or, maybe you want to do a single family rental, because I just helped 2 people buy those things. They seem to be back too. That comes with a whole different set of finances, but reach out to us and let us know what you want, because we will go out and do our best to find it.
Yeah, this map blew my mind the first time I saw it, guys. That's all the multi and commercial properties in the area. So like if you guys see a building that you're interested in, wow, wouldn't it be nice to own a building there? Or maybe there's a multi you've got your eyes on, or a commercial opportunity, like go talk to Kayla. She'll put in the work. She knows the different ways that you could finance it or potentially purchase it, the different clauses that you could use to get into it. Just send her out there right? And this is the beauty here of working with a great power team is like Kayla knows what is required to get these type of properties under contract. And again, like 2025, it really needs to be the year of creating value for yourself and driving hard towards your goals, because we're coming out of a weird slump here. It's been weird. It's been a weird long period of time where people have not been certain and they've not been winning. So I suggest it's strategies like this. It's going out and finding those opportunities that's going to get you your goals in 2025.
Love it. And that's it.
Boom. Well, Kayla, thank you so much for the market update. It's great to hear about Niagara, and I really love hearing about those grant programs. I would love to hear if there's any other developments on that front. We love the news. I love the dates too. That was so cool for you to bring that into the conversation. So I hope you guys at home got some great information out of this video. There's a lot of tactical information in here. And then of course, some deals. So if there's anything you saw you liked, make sure you reach out to Kayla. And Kayla, we'll be back here next month. So make sure you guys get subscribed. Thanks, Kayla.
Thanks.